Hello, Bruce. Thought I'd do something different for once in terms of testing the carburetors and actually show you from start to finish the testing process. I'm going to be installing these for my test engine purposes. This is not the way you install the carburetors. These bolts do not come in from the back side, they go in from the front. And I have a video on that, but what you're going to do is you're going to put the bolts in here and your wave washers and have all the sleeves and everything mounted, pre-mounted here, and hold your bolts in place like this with your fingers and install the carburetors so the bolts go in like that. This is just for ease of testing purposes. Also, make sure that you install the correct carburetor where it's supposed to go. The choke levers go to the inside. So what I'm going to do is install these and crank them up. This will be the first test of these things after I've built them. And we'll just see if my faith in these carburetors is well placed to do this. Also, you will notice that we have some slop in the carburetors themselves in terms of up and down and sideways. And what you want to do is install them loosely and then install your air log so that you don't button down the carburetors first and then try to install the air log and the studs don't line up. We'll show you that in just a minute. And by and large, this is going to be fairly boring. And this is a lot easier on this engine when it's out of the car. It's a lot tougher with the engine in the car because you're bending over the fender and you can't get your hands down where they need to be and all that kind of stuff. So get our linkage up out of the way. Okay. Naturally, I got it bound up down there. Okay. Get this up out of the way. What I mean about the carburetors moving up and down, you see they got some slop, and you got the studs should be in fairly well-defined holes going into the airlock, and so if you have this up or down, the studs may not necessarily line up. So put the carburetors, line them up, install the carburetors, put your airlock in place, and then do the final snugging here, just to where things will not shift, and then you pull your airlock off and you can do the rest of the tightening down. And I just happen to prefer to install the first carburetor first and then the second one, but I don't think it makes any difference. In this application, a 1/4-inch drive wobble socket makes a great way to install these things. Makes it so much easier. Get up underneath there with an extension. The 1/4-inch drive is all you need. You're not holding together the Eiffel Tower. And of course, this is much easier because I'm not having to install the hot choke mechanism at the same time. And why they ever invented the hot choke, I'll never know. Nobody ever uses it. All I've done on the initial settings is screw this down and backed it out 1 turn, and then got these down 1.5 turns. And again, as you can see, you've got quite a bit of play here in terms of the Solexes, and so you want to get your air log installed on both carburetors, and then snug down at least on the top to where these things will not move when you pull the air log off. And also have your battery disconnected, because you're right on top of the starter with wrenches, and you can make things very difficult for yourself by shorting across some terminals down here. Double check. Okay, we're good there. What I have rigged up is a piece of piano wire that goes it substitutes for the choke. You need to attach these together because this one just kind of flops around and will just flop around while the engine's running. This one here obviously is got a bigger spring on it. Right. And no, it's not any easier when it's in the car. There we go. There's a hole here somewhere. All right. And if you need to, you have a little bit of adjustment right here on these screws. You can adjust these screws where it brings the levers to where they're in line with each other. And what you want to do is make sure that this cable coming from your dash is pulled, the dash knob is pulled in or pushed in all the way. You don't want any slack on, let's see. So the dash knob gets pulled in all the way, pushed in all the way rather. Be sure to lube your cable. It's inside the sheath. And make sure it moves nicely, because what you're doing is you're pulling up. What did I do? I bound these up somehow. What did I do? Unbelievable. I got these adjusted wrong. Okay, down too far. All right, good. So see, that's why we do this stuff, so I can get these adjusted properly. That works better. That one needs to come up as well. while I test these things, so we get all this taken care of beforehand for you. Need a flashlight. There we go. Let's see if that'll do it. Much better. Just that little tiny adjustment is all it needed. This one was the issue. And while we're at it on chokes, once you got the choke pulled up, you can test your choke, make sure the butterflies are working properly by flipping the little stop tabs. That's how these are supposed to work. Supposed to be floppy, loose. All right, now let's get the throttle linkage on here. Get a return spring. Yeah, I suggest that you rig up a return spring from this lever to the inner fender with the wire about that long, and then your original return spring. And makes your life, you can test these things without the air log. You don't need to install the air log. In fact, I recommend don't install the air log until you put the carbs on, got them the linkage adjusted, and do some test driving, and then do the air log at the very last. And what you want to do with this turnbuckle here is you want to snap it on here on the last carburetor and get the initial adjustment to where this thing just snaps in place without adjusting the throttle, without moving the throttle or the RPM. And this, I have this already loosened for that purpose, so I can just pop it in place. And next we're going to install the fuel lines. And very important aspect of the fuel lines, you want to stabilize this fitting into the float bolt cover, and then you do your tightening with another wrench so that you don't tighten here and twist down here and rip this out. I've got helicoils in here, so you should not have any issues, but you always stabilize. All right, next thing we're going to do, get our tools off. And we're going to pump up some fuel. You go to your priming lever on your fuel pump and pump some fuel into the carburetors. If you don't get any action, if you don't feel any resistance, you bump the engine over once or twice to where you get resistance on the fuel pump lever, priming lever, because it works off of a cam, and you could be on the bottom lobe of the cam, or rather on the top lobe of the cam, fully compressing the fuel pump. So you want to be on the bottom lobe of the cam inside the engine. And the easiest way to do that is just bump it over a couple of times. All right, and then once you finish pumping fuel and you get fuel up to the carburetors, you will have no resistance on the fuel pump priming lever. So what I'm going to do now is pump some fuel into these things. All right, we got our first squirt there. Now we got a squirt there. All right, got our, so completely cold. Hadn't even adjusted them yet. Let's see what happens. Switch on. Choke. All right. Let's get some idle. Increase the idle. Just back out on the idle mixture screw. Half a turn. see what we got here. Switch on. Now you can't really adjust these things until they get warmed up, but considering I haven't done any adjustments to them at all, that's pretty darn impressive, I think. So we're going to sit here and get them warmed up. And then we're going to use the synchrometer to dial them in. Temperature gauge down here. Do you see how, can you hear how better they're running once they start to get warmed up? You will see the thermostat open a little bit. Thermostat open, and you see the temperature going down slowly. Okay, so we are good to go for carburetor adjustment. First thing we want to do is disconnect our throttle linkage so these are running independently. Hear the difference? Because the linkage was not adjusted properly. Now let's make sure we don't have any air flowing through our second barrel. Now let's balance our air going through our first barrel. That's 6.5. 6.5. Now let's do our idle mixture screws. We're going to screw this in and out until we get the best idle speed. Here it pick up. We're going to run a little lean right there. Here the idle pick up again. I'll give you an instance of what it's like when these are out of adjustment. Choking off the fuel. Back it out. Get our best running. Next, the hard part is getting the throttle linkage lined up properly so that when you put the ball on the socket, it doesn't change your idle. right. Now, just for fun, let's idle it down. See how low we can go. And I'll document this later on with further testing, but we can get down to about 400 or 500 RPM. So right now we got about 4.5, 5. 4.5, 5. Remember, these are the same thread pitch, so if you do the same amount on both screws, it has the same effect on both carbs. A little bit more, just for fun. Notice I'm holding up on this lever, this throttle lever right here, that push rod. We're at 4. At 4. All right, this thing's idling at about 500 RPM. So I think you'll find it's got you a nice set of carburetors. And we'll do a hot start. I'll do some more running in and let them sit for a few days and do several cold starts and double check everything. And I think I got you a really nice set of carburetors. Thanks for your patience.